Who still uses broadcast and print media? Yeah, okay. Darlene, why do you use it?
Well, I believe that when you're marketing an event or your organization, you have to do what we used to call the 1-2 punch. If you just go at somebody or a targeted market from one angle, then you're probably missing a whole demographic. Some people, it takes, 2, 3, 4 times before they see something, before it kind of sinks in. So they read about something in the paper. The paper has been very generous to Partners in Education and their support of us. And we also buy ads with them. I don't think it should be all give me, give me. We also do some purchasing with them. And it's the same thing with the radio, and it's the same thing with TV. And if you don't take advantage of all of those outlets, then you're missing out on a lot of people, and you're not able to get your message out completely and fully.
Hi, Julie Mitzi with High Country Travel. I have a question for the panel, and anybody can answer, because my question is, how do you know your demographics for print, say for David, as opposed to media, to radio? You know, what are the demographics these days? Because some of us are not tech savvy, and you don't have to be Asian not to be tech savvy.
Well, with the Facebook Live thing, as far as our radio show is, it's the friends on my page. Okay. So, you know, I have 1,500 friends, and I don't know who's seeing it or who's not seeing it, but as they are watching, their name comes across. So-and-so is watching, so-and-so. And then I'm seeing the thumbs coming across. So, you know, I'm getting that. Then I get the analytics after the show if we've had 500, 600 views. And it's difficult. I could go through there, right, and figure out exactly who was viewing it. But that's how we're starting. Now, City Talk has its own Facebook page. I have my personal Facebook page. We decided we're going both places because what happened was last week the City Talk page, we couldn't seem to get, so we had a technical difficulty with it. So I came up on my personal page, and it was amazing. So I think we're going to do both because we're just going to reach people who are friends with City Talk, and then I'll have a whole nother demographic with people who may be my friends on Facebook. So as far as that's concerned, that's how I know. We didn't know what our demographics were on the radio, to be honest with you, you know, other than people stopping me on the street or wherever saying, hey, I caught the show, I did this, I that. It was very difficult to know. This way I'm getting a much clearer picture of who's listening to us.
Of course, we spend in broadcasting a ton of money getting ratings so that we can share it with you about who's listening, who's watching, when they're listening, what they're doing, and same with newspaper. So we invest a lot in that to make that as accurate as we can possibly do it. If I speak just a second to the Facebook and everything, if you haven't spent some time with your Facebook analytics on the back side of your page, there's a great walkthrough back there that is very user-friendly, and I totally suggest you spend the time and do it. It's really not a lot of time. It's not going to be so tech-savvy. It's done for your average Facebook, fan page, footer-upper, if you will. And so it's going to tell you a lot about not only what your page is doing, but if you paid, for example, to boost a post, which will probably be, honestly, the best $20 you ever spent in your life, even sometimes the best $5 you ever spent in your life, you can actually see the analytics in Facebook of what that post did. Now, not everybody's fan page is as, fleshed out. Some of us pay for fan pages, and I want to tell you this is some sweet analytics, just going to be honest. But so we can see a lot about who's doing it, not just to go and look by each person, but to look at it as a total picture. And that's one of the things about those types of advertising that, even though we're talking about drilling down on who you're reaching, is you got to think stereotypically about your business and who your business works with, or your organization and who your organization works with, and what it is you want to accomplish. And I'll pass the microphone on, but before I forget, in addition to Hootsuite, for those of us that find Hootsuite a little complicated, and I think it's the free account gives you like 5 social media you can manage. Also, TweetDeck and Sprout Social are very user-friendly and worth taking a look at. And I was going to say one more thing, I totally forgot what it is. I think LinkedIn has some new options for analytics that are pretty good as well for what you can see. But when you pay, there's some things that you can pay a little for and get a tremendous amount. And I just totally recommend that you spend some time and go through them because they're really, really great walkthroughs.
Oh, one thing we do at Beasley is we subscribe to Nielsen, which I know you guys do. And Nielsen can, I get the question a lot of times is, well, you know, when I buy something like a digital product or whatever, I could see how many people are going to see my ad. Like if I buy Facebook or I buy whatever, I know how many impressions I'm going to get. We can do the same thing with Nielsen. So it's you know, when you're asking the question of how do you know who your demographics are, how do you know how many people are listening to the radio, you know, Nielsen samples that for us. So we can break it down from not just an age cell, you know, from like an 18 to 24-year-old male. We can break it down like that. We can also break it down to how many 18 to 24-year-old males want to buy a Jeep, you know, things like that. Then we can set radio program schedules through Nielsen that will show how many impressions you will get with this schedule for that amount of audience. So, you know, radio stations and TV stations, you know, they fluctuate and who's number one and all that kind of thing. But when you're looking at radio stations in general, certain radio stations will do better with a young demographic, whether it's a modern rock radio station, to African American with our KISS, you know, KISS FM, to our Beach Boogie and Blues, which is popular here in New Bern. So, I mean, each radio station has a different way of doing that with the Nielsen ratings and being able to drill down into those impressions. When it gets into what Kat was talking about, our clip radio, we can do the same thing. Each month we can tell you how many people are streaming online, how long they're streaming, how many hours they're streaming. We can tell whether or not they're on and off each day. We can also, with our app, tell you how many app downloads that we go through. So typically when we do cash contests, that's why radio stations do them, or any type of active thing like that, people will download the app to win. You know, so you know, monthly active users will go up. You know, but then if we're not doing anything, if somebody's not really into that station, you know, they'll go down. But you have contest players as well, just like you do with anything else. So I hope I'm answering your question. I want to give you, because I get that question a lot. You know, how do you know how many people? So there's the answer.
Thank you. Everybody's going to talk. To answer your question, Julie, specifically, and this is from a business standpoint, talking to people who may run small businesses, if you are talking with someone from a media concern, you have every right to ask them to give you a breakdown of who that message is to reach. And if they can't tell you, walk away. Don't do business with them. In 2016, there is no excuse for a media concern not to be able to tell you who they're reaching. Now it costs money, as Joanna said, they spend lots of money, and I know that Beasley spends lots of money, and it's good research and it's money well spent. We spend money too, so I'm not comparing one against the other. Our representatives should be able to tell you exactly who our audience is. Now, I am not representing the newspaper. I've been in the digital side for 10 or 12 years. Just so happens I'm carrying the baggage of lots of years of experience with newspapers, and it teaches me a lot. The average age of a newspaper reader is mid to upper 50s. The average viewer of NCIS is that age too. The average audience of a newspaper website is about 10 years younger than the newspaper reader. This is on average. And we could show you demographics. Anybody in this panel should be able to show you. So my recommendation, anybody who has a business, and even if you talk to somebody from our concern, ask them who that message is reaching. The last thing I'm going to say, in 2016, I would really recommend people not use standard media that doesn't target. In 2016, I don't know why anybody would use a shotgun. I'm not a gun owner. I don't know why anybody would use a shotgun when you can actually artfully, scientifically target the audience you want to reach. You could talk to, again, this is not a commercial for me, the average age of a newspaper reader is in 50s and on up. If you wanted to reach people who are 18 to 24, I could do it for you. And I wouldn't even use the newspaper. And the same thing is true with members of this panel. So be selfish. You run your business. You run your marketing, and the other question about how do you find the time is tough. Prioritize those social media channels that are most important, and you could probably ask around and figure out where those couple of them are, and that's time you're going to have to spend. You could hire someone to do it for you. That's not a commercial I'm going to give you right now, but find time to do it. It's a cost of doing business, and I know that's easy for me to say, it's harder for you to do, but it just simply is, because 75% of the United States accesses Facebook today, and the average age of Facebook is older than you think it is. There are other ones that are growing.
I just want to address the question specifically that Deirdre brought up, and that's one of the things that, you know, in small businesses and nonprofits, everybody's got to do everything all the time, and it's frustrating because how do you prioritize your time? And I think, you know, what I was talking about before is this is where you really got to think about anything that you're going to do, how can you then turn that into something that you can post on social media or take advantage of it. So again, if you can go on All About Craven with Angelina, or you can go on and have an interview with somebody about something, well then now you're killing, you know, one bird there, but you can then use that and post that on so many different social medias. So, you know, I would encourage you to try and figure out ways where you can really, you know, anything that's worth doing is worth putting on social media. It's maybe a good way of putting it. And so, you know, it doesn't mean that that gives you any more hours in the day, but if you can figure out ways to, you know, talk to somebody, if you're going to be on the radio or you're going to be on TV, they'll be able to give you a clip or give you a link that you can then post your interviews on, or if you're going to be in the newspaper, how you can link to that. Whatever it is, you know, that's why we're here. We still have these other regular media outlets, and we're on social media, so, you know, take advantage of that, because now that's a post. That's, you know, not everything has to be a blog post that you have to start at the beginning and type out and hopefully proofread and then do. Because when are you going to have time to do that? You know, hopefully you can, but any of these other opportunities that you have should be ready-made posts. So that would be the best solution I could.
Well, I'm not totally unfamiliar, although I am certainly unskilled with many of these platforms. My larger issue is that I have other things that I'm supposed to do within the course of my workday, and the more I learn, the more I think this is a full-time plus obligation to keep everything fresh and timely. And how do I manage my time, and is there a priority? I am trying to post regular notices, but how do I keep up?
Darlene, you want to take that? And Kim? We're going to be talking.
And I'll stand so you don't have to look my back. Darlene Brown, I'm Executive Director at Partners in Education. And I remember when I moved to New Bern about 10 years ago, I went to Kevin Roberts at the Chamber and said, we really need a Facebook page and Twitter. And he was like, yeah. And he probably felt about that, about like Wendy feels about going live right now. It's like, oh, do we really want to do that? And I said, yes, we do. And he got it. I mean, it took a little while, but he got it. He realized how that was really going to let his members know free. I mean, y'all, Facebook is free. And there's another thing. Social media, it's social. I interact. I don't have a sponsor that I don't interact with and support. So you have to just keep that in mind, that it has to be a two-way street, always. How am I going to put something out on Facebook and not expect you to like it and show you're interested in coming to the events if I don't do the same for you? So you always have to remember that. And the cross platforms of Twitter and Instagram, what is it that you are looking at doing? If it's something that's very photocentric, like they were saying, take a picture of your donuts, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to picture of the donuts on Instagram. Twitter, look, revolutions have been started using Twitter. Look at the spring uprising in Egypt and what happened there. I mean, it's just amazing. And look at one of our presidential candidates. What he has done with Twitter is, I mean, it's, no matter how you feel, and we're not going to go there. But look at what he's done. It has been absolutely amazing. So,
And
Did
you all are gonna talk about integrating in
Right.
Hootsuite where you can manage
And how many
time in
times
the
a day?
future, you know.
how many times a day do you get on Facebook? I want to do 1 to 3, 4 times a day. Here. How many go on more than 5 times a day? Okay. How many of you think that I kind of live on Facebook and Twitter? Okay, really and truly, I only go on about 3 times a day. It's how I target and do it. And you're asking, there's the organizations that they have people that have created jobs, and that's what they do is social media now. I mean, like I said, 10 years ago, I had to kind of pull my president in and say, no, this is really what we want to do. And now there's almost a job there that's all that they do. So you have to really target how you do it, and I think it's by working with somebody that is experienced in doing that. They can kind of teach you and bring you along, but I think it's really important to have somebody in your organization that's embedded and knows what you're doing to be really effective at putting the word out. I mean, I live, breathe, and eat Partners in Education. So I can tell you what we're doing and when my deadlines are for the teachers and who my target market is. You have to live, breathe, and eat your organization, so you have to know how to put your word out. It's hard for me to come in and tell you. I can tell you these things that you can probably Google and look up and learn how to do, but it's the passion that comes through on social media. There's not going to be any way that you can pay anybody to do that for you. You have to put that out through social media. And I think that it really does come across. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, but we're gonna be covering it. Your
We'll be covering
question.
more of this later on.